I'm not the most comfortable public speaker, so I had to write it out. I hope you're okay with that. Some of it I would have forgotten, and some of it I would have said incorrectly. And what I have to say today is pretty important to my family and my friends and all of y'all. It means a lot to us. The reason why we've been able to muster through all of this is because of the people like you and what Thermopolis is. And we look forward to raising not only our kids here, but our grandkids and our great-grandkids. This has become home for us, and we're not going anywhere. And there's nobody going to be able to run us off. So I'm going to, unfortunately, read this this presentation rather than knowing it by memory. We're so grateful for your support. Thank you. We gather peacefully in support of something so great and blessed that over 1 million souls have paid the ultimate price for the preservation of our freedom, our liberty, guided by God, for the preservation of the Constitution of the United States of America. I would like to take us back a few years to 2020. At that time, Michelle and I were praying for inspiration on how best to unite our family, unite our friends, and bring value to the people of Hot Springs County. COVID had been a burden on the entire world, yet we had this little paradise called Thermopolis that seemed to be out on an island all to its own, protected from much of the crazy. Some of us right here in Thermopolis stood up for their constitutional rights very early on, refusing to succumb to the government leaders telling them how to live their lives, being bullied to give up their constitutional rights, a restaurant refusing to close to the mandate, nurses striking the COVID shot, freedom of choice. And the people of Thermopolis are stronger because of it. The answer to our prayers to unite our family and friends came in the form of expanding our native heritage and creating a Tipi ranch. We would call the area where our family and guests spent the night the Tipi retreat. We would expand with more farm animals, offer healing types of experiences and services like massage and healing at the Smoking Waters, sweat lodge ceremonies, and more over time. Eventually, we could provide food off-site at a Tipi grill. Lead those same guests to the county museum, the dinosaur museum, restaurants, local shops, tourist attractions, and encourage them to learn about the native history and deep native culture that permeates this entire region. We would open our teepees for short-term rentals when our friends and family were not there during the tourist season. All this is just like a dude ranch here in Hot Springs County and other parts of the country, but paying respect to our native heritage rather than our cowboy heritage. So in October of 2020, over 2 years ago, we broke ground and set up 4 decks for 4 teepees. Our plan was to start with 4, maybe add another 4 the following year if the family ranch activities were a hit by both family, our friends, and our guests. We went to work, invited our neighbors over for a tour to get their questions answered. The barbers, our immediate neighbors, gave us a score of 9 out of 10. Never saying anything negative or expressing any personal concerns. We had almost completed 4 teepee setups when we got the call. On March 31st, 2021, our 2 teenage boys were visiting their adult brother and sister in the Midwest for spring break. The unthinkable happened. One of the homeless men that our daughter had helped during her charity work became a stalker. Within 10 days, this man showed up at the front door of her apartment with a gun and point blank murdered our daughter's fiance.
her dream come true. Well, our two teenage boys stood inside with a loaded weapon drawing, prepared to defend themselves while on the phone with 911. Those two boys are standing here today. The Tipi Ranch now just became much more to our families than just a fun, healthy experience for family and guests and friends, but rather a place of refuge for the darkest side of our earthly journey, a place of deep healing, and a place of truly retreat from our hard chapters in our lives. The Tipi Ranch now became a working ranch that would support more of our family. Thermopolis became the home for Joshua, Mattel, Astra to start a new chapter in their life's journey and begin the process of healing and searching for the light at the end of the tunnel. Then Caleb, our other son, our adult son, working as a mortician living in the Midwest, had seen enough of the COVID fallout. He had enough with seeing child suicide victims, the lies being told on the causes of death reports, and the stress of the industry that's surrounded by death during the biggest epidemic in modern history, and he moved to Thermopolis with us. And he stands here today too. They all became part of Tipi Ranch to start other new businesses in Thermopolis with Michelle and I. Then in the process to work with the county for permission to use our land for the Tipi Ranch operations and paid guests, the government rodeo began. At that time, there were no, quote, vacation rental regulations in Hot Springs County. There were no dude ranch vacation regulations in Hot Springs County. However, there were many vacation rental operations in existence in Hot Springs County. And there were a couple of dude ranches in operations in Hot Springs County. One of them even has a full restaurant, offers a full bar, sensational meals, 6 vacation rental cabins, and a bathhouse. The other offers meals and vacation rental cabins and much more. None of them had strict county permitting requirements to do so from Hot Springs County. No commercial land use changes, no spending months going through county land use meetings, county commission meetings, not until Tipis. We all know that Tipis were the home of many native cultures around the world and a staple to the image of Hot Springs County. Just take a look at Hot Springs County website front page. If you have a phone, you can just go to www.hscounty.com and you'll see buffaloes, the smoking waters, and guess what? A teepee. The same style teepee we chose to represent our heritage here. The county government chose to miscategorize us first as a bed and breakfast. Then they decided we were more like a campground. No, we do not allow campers, no tents, no RVs, or any other type of camping. The county commissioners eventually abused this inappropriate categorization by using the heavy hand of government to find a reason for our use to be called a major development, a subdivision, and conveniently apply subdivision rules upon our ranch. No, we're not subdividing. No, we are not running major utilities into our ranch through right-of-ways and such that require subdivisions to do. What if our ranch would have chosen a cowboy name and we would have chosen cabins instead of teepees? Wooden walls and roof rather than that of a teepee. The home of cowboys instead of the home of Indians and natives. The Thermopolis our adult children experienced from neighbors and the government did not match our description. Our neighbors became hateful and committed assaults on my family. Even our 9-year-old granddaughter, who had escaped the trauma with the loss of what had become the only father she had ever known, was cursed out by a hateful neighbor, brought to tears, and further traumatized. The harassment violations intensified from both our neighbors and our local leaders. Our government leaders' actions further inspired the neighbors to organize against us, escalating to a point of terroristic threats to our family, including harm to our property and our very lives. It was even stated that, quote, the war, unquote, declared on us would go on. And yes, that's all recorded. Even the sheriff, perhaps innocently, became part of the neighbors' actions to harm us. The sorrow and sadness in the hearts and minds of my kids are so intense, so deep, so much loss and hate and harassment, and I can't even tell you the full extent of it. Thermopolis was not the town we described to them after it all, not for them until Joshua and Astra all returned to the Midwest, started a new life there, new careers, far away from here. Our family's been under attack for almost 2 years. We dealt with it the best way we could. After much fasting and prayer, we were inspired to make everything public, to share our story with the Thermopolis we love and know, and let them judge for themselves the people committing wrongs, breaking laws, ignoring constitutional civil rights, which includes those people from whom we the people put in office and must be held accountable by we the people. We thought that maybe we could find relief from the constant onslaught of our empowered neighbors by exposing the truth to their community. Shining a light on their character did draw attention of many. We went from 4 neighbors openly harassing us to just now 1. Here we are now, a battle our family feel needs fought, much like those men and women here in Thermopolis stood up a few years back. No, we are not going to close our restaurant. No, we are not going to take the shot. No, we are not going to stand idle while our civil rights are violated. No, we are not going to stand idle while our constitutional rights are trampled on. Michelle and our children who have chosen to make a stand with us, and our friends and those who also want to see justice served, are all standing up for change. And I thank you. I thank you for being here. And there was a lot that couldn't make it because of the storm today. And I thank them too. We all thank them. In closing, let me shine a light on the character of our leaders. As of July 19, 2022, the county now has added definitions and rules about, quote, vacation rentals and, quote, short-term rentals. Knowing that you don't show up to the meetings, knowing that you don't read public notices, knowing that you don't ask the tough questions, knowing that you don't hold them accountable, quietly amending them in the Hot Springs County 2022 Land Use Plan. In 2020 and 2021, they did not have them in their plan, but continue to treat us as though they did, asking the courts for fines possibly in excess of $2 million on us for violating a rule that didn't exist then. The county government has become a great serpent, squeezing, further restricting and constricting our agency to do as we deem appropriate with our private properties. Today it is our land, tomorrow it is your land. That's why we encourage and invite you to show up with us to as many meetings as you can physically attend. Otherwise, watch the recordings on hotspringsspotlight.com to remain aware of how your elected officials are planning the future for you, for your children, for your grandchildren here in Hot Springs County. Just a few weeks ago, Jill Logan requested the Bud Fallon Law Firm, who also represents our neighbor, to send a legal letter denying us our constitutional right to use the Freedom of Information Act for gathering public government documents, a right that is extended to even the most heinous criminals. The reason she gave was that we created, quote, an uncomfortable situation for the county's employees, unquote. When we were delivering 862 petitions signed with Caleb, my son here, quietly and professionally recording for proof of delivery. Exercising our First Amendment right to petition our government and record the process for proof without fear of punishment is a protected First Amendment constitutional right. Jill basically took away one First Amendment right as a punishment, thereby violating another First Amendment right to petition our government without the fear of punishment. There's just a few men and women who have chosen to sidestep rules of law. Even as we are putting up our Save the Tipi signs, our friends stood with us in support of truth and justice. We're receiving calls from your elected leaders, coercing them to take down the signs. Do you understand what I'm saying? They harassed, they threatened our supporters while they hold an elected position in the highest, most powerful seats in our local government. Tom and Phil threatened our supporters with financial losses in their livelihoods. As you know our story, the timeline and supporting documents can be found on the SaveTheTP.com website. We're making everything public. Let me leave you with this. Franklin D. Roosevelt said, quote, "True individual freedom cannot exist without economic security
and independence. People who are hungry and out of a job are the stuff of which dictatorships are made. Let me say that again. True individual freedom cannot exist without economic security and independence. People who are hungry and out of a job are the stuff of which dictatorships are made of. Amen. Thomas Jefferson said, quote, "The greatest danger to American freedom is a government that ignores the Constitution." Unquote. Brothers and sisters, well, we know sometimes the truth is ugly and it can be uncomfortable to acknowledge. Our family is grateful for your willingness to go through the pains to bring the truth to light. Like the birth of a newborn baby, so too may our local government be reborn in the light of spirit of truth. George Washington said, quote, "Truth will ultimately prevail where there are pains to bring it to light." Unquote. God bless America, and God bless Hot Springs County. Amen. Thank you so much for coming out today.